Welcome to my designer class. My name is Mercy and I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator. In today's class I'm going to show you how I made this panel card, and I will also at the end show you other cards I made using the same layout but with different stamp sets. So be sure to stay around for that. I wanted to first of all give credit where credit is due. I was inspired by my upline who created this card this Christmas, and I thought I would love to recreate it. So the first thing I did was I created a template. I'm a big fan of doing templates, so I will show you a little bit about that. I would recommend it if you do want to make this card. Not that it's super complex, it's actually very simple, but it helps you know the dimensions. So if you want to look at this, this one, and you could flip these, have the smaller panel on the right and the larger on the left if you wanted. Now I also have a little accent piece up here, so keep that in mind. Now the stamp sets that I used are Flirty, Flamingo, and One for All. The main set is One for All, and it reminds me a little bit of the older style stamps that Stampin' Up! Had, and so I decided to use the technique with using Stamp Right markers to color it, but an update with the Stamparatus. I'm also using some masking. So bringing in the Stamparatus, I will quickly show you how I did this. Now I'm doing it to the side so you can see it better and how I'm inking it. Now the first thing I'm going to do is go ahead and secure my white cardstock. I did make this L, which is a modification for the Stamparatus, and the reason why I did that is that close to the hinges you do not get as good of a impression. All right, so bringing in some Scotch tape. I thought I would save time and cut a small piece, and look, I've kind of made a little bit of a mess here, but no worries, scissors handy. I'll just save that tape for later, hopefully, if I don't make a mess of it. Now, what I'm going to do is just cover some of the letters. And the reason why I'm masking this is it's just hard to stamp and not get ink on what you don't want. So ink it up really well. I preferred not to do double stamping with this one because it tended to easily shift. So one pass, hopefully, is good enough. Make sure you take off this masking part, otherwise you're going to definitely ruin it. And stamp straight down. Apply pressure with the palm of your hand, and there it came out really well. So the next part will be cleaning up with the stamper. Whoa, where I'm having trouble finding. Oh, it's right under here. That's why I was panicking for a second there. I have an empty case I was supposed to use, but the stamping chamois works great for this. So just go ahead, clean it up really well. And make sure it's dry. You could use like some scratch paper at this point, or you can just even use the palm of your hand. Just make sure it's 100% dry. So the next part is what I was talking about with using your Stamp Right markers. This would not work if you were using blends. You had to use like something ink, a water-based ink. And I went ahead and colored all the little flowers black because I wanted to match the silhouette. So and we're gonna have to do this 2 times to have a really good image. I'm doing oh, there went my marker top, but I'll get it back later. You have actually slightly more time with the Stamp Right markers than with the blends with drying out, but I definitely recommend covering it in a short order. I'll definitely at the end of this video retrieve it. So what I'm doing is I'm going to go ahead, color everything, all the letters except for best, because I want best to be kind of the biggest highlight of the sentiment. So I will set that aside, and best I'm going to use Berry Burst. I was using Blueberry Bushel earlier with the blue. So there we have it. And as I was mentioning, we're going to do this 2 times to have a really nice, clean image. Okay, so it looks fairly good, but it will definitely look better when I add a second time, which this is an update really from that technique, because we used to huff and try our very best to do every possible square, inch, millimeter, whatever, to get it really well inked, and sometimes we didn't, and it was very frustrating. So with the Stamparatus, you definitely get a second chance, and you get it much darker. So I definitely, if you're going to do this technique, I would highly recommend using the Stamparatus for it. Okay, so one more time, and there we have it. I think it looks great. Okay, so I'm going to just clean this up real quick and set it aside, and we will start doing the rest of the parts of the card. Now, the leaf at the top, I thought it was really cool to have that leaf because it mimics the Tropical Escape designer series paper that I used. So I am going to go ahead and do a quick little bit of embossing. Here is, I'm going to bring in some scratch paper just to make sure I don't get any glitter and stuff I don't want. Embossing buddy, always use your embossing buddy. Then here is my leaf and my Versamark. So the dimensions for this leaf is pretty narrow. There's not a lot of room. So I want to make sure I get it right. So I'm just going to put my head in here for a second. Okay. And there. If anything, you want it towards the top. Unfortunately, because this is the photopolymer, it is actually pretty simple to do that. But it's a little bit harder, of course, on camera. All right. So I'm going to bring in my silver embossing powder mixed with the dazzling diamonds. I like doing this. I do 2 teaspoons of the embossing powder to 1 teaspoon dazzling diamonds, and it really adds a lot of sparkle. Of course, there are embossing powders that already mix just like that, but Stampin' Up! Does not offer it. And if you have dazzling diamonds like I did on hand, it was definitely made a lot of sense for me to just mix it myself, and it was super, super easy. Definitely not complicated, and saves me from having to go out and buy something that I wouldn't necessarily buy. I might not even tried it, actually, had I not done it myself. Okay, so I'm turning on my heat gun, and you want to preheat it a little bit. So it works pretty much exactly the same as if you're just doing straight embossing powder. Just want to, now it's coming up. I definitely always enjoy watching it come up. It's really pretty. And with the dazzling diamonds, it adds a lot of sparkle. Now, I should have probably used my tweezers for that, but I managed. It was a little hot though. For a second there, I thought I was gonna yell. All right. Next, I'll start bringing in all the layers, and we will start assembling. So, bringing in my strips here, and the black and white Tropical Escape DSP. So we have like this, and then this will go over here. So I like using the Tombow liquid glue. It goes really quickly, and you have a little bit of wiggle room if you make a mistake, which I've been known to do. I don't know about you, but mistakes are very readily happen when you're stamping, I think. Okay, so here we have it. Have the best day ever. I think that's a perfect sentiment. It goes great for birthday, and I've also used it with thank you cards too, and I think that works well. I just stamp inside the card, thank you. All right, so here we go. Just gonna wiggle this so it's perfect, and it is now. So now we're gonna bring in the Berry Burst card base. So we will start assembling this, but before we put it on here, we're going to worry about this and our ribbon. And sometimes it's really hard to remember the ribbon, especially if you're wrapping it behind it. You definitely need to do it at this point. So what I did is I just covered the white, Whisper White, and I just wiggle it until it's perfectly covered. I don't want any of the Whisper White showing. Now, this ribbon that I used is a new one in the Occasions catalog. It's a striped metallic, and it just looks wonderful with this. So I think it's an awesome ribbon. I'm so glad I got it. Even if you do not get the Geared Up Garage, which I also recommend, you should definitely consider this ribbon. It goes with so many things, and that little bit of sparkle, it just really adds to a card. As far as tying it, I don't know if I've tried tying it in a bow, so I can't recommend it from that standpoint yet, but I will try that out at some point. Lately, I've been just wrapping it around cards. So, okay, so just get this kind of, so it's covering the top and the bottom, and then I'm using tear and tape, and I want to keep it as tight as possible. So make sure you have enough ribbon to work with. I've done a few times where I was stingy and it was kind of tricky. Okay, so there it is. Isn't that pretty? Next, we're going to go ahead and start assembling the card. And then we have to stamp inside the card. And we will be finished with this in no time. I got this set when Stampin' Up! Had their birthday sale. I think that was like back in November. And I'm really excited that this works. Actually, this whole layout works extremely well with people stamps. For some reason, they're often narrow like this. So this set works well with that. I mean, of course, like the snowman isn't technically a person, but it is sort of a person. If you think about it, it's a fictional person. So that's why it made me think, well, what stamp sets do I have that are like of people? And this was one. And then of course I used Beautiful You and Wonderful Moments. So you're going to be really amazed at some of those cards as well. All right, so we're going to stamp inside, as I was saying. And for this card, I have Thank You. So for this one, I will probably add Happy Birthday, and it's from the handheld set. But before I forget, I want to go ahead and add this at the base. I saw this, Kelly Atkins does this a lot, and I think it's really cute, and it's a way to use up your designer series paper. So here we go. Hopefully I didn't get it. That was a little bit much glue, but we'll hopefully make it work. I probably should have stamped this first, because if I have a whoops moment, I can't flip it now. All right, hold your breath, right? So Berry Burst, and it's very easy to get your hands dirty with this, so just beware when you're using Berry Burst. It's a crazy reddish, color, pink, and you know how that goes. All right, I just am going to stamp it in the center. Whew. And no bad luck there, I'm happy to say. And we'll go ahead and just add this in the center. So again, I was just saying I like using this as either birthday or thank you. Or you could do it sort of as a thinking of you card as well. That would be lovely. But 9 times out of 10, it seems like usually we don't make time to write those cards, sadly. And we try to hit birthdays and special thank you notes and stuff like that. So anyway, I'm just going to add this here, and there we have our card. If you enjoyed watching this tutorial, please give me a thumbs up and consider subscribing. Now, as promised, I'm going to go ahead bring in some other cards. This is the Floral Romance DSP hand-delivered stamp set. So you can see how that one turned out. Then I have, this one is the Beautiful You stamp set and the Petal Promenade DSP. So I thought that was really pretty. And I used the Berry Burst ribbon here. Okay, and then this is Wonderful Moments and also the Tropical Escape. So I have a few details there. And there you have all these cards using the same layout, the same dimensions. The only thing sometimes I varied was this accent piece up here. Like this is a little more narrow and this is actually a little bit longer. So other than that, they are pretty much the same layout. So I will set those cards aside and bring back in the original one, and you can tell me which one you prefer in the comments below. Thank you for taking some time to watch this, and happy stamping. And also if you want to order any products, please feel free to email me at mewants3@gmail.com. Have a great day. Happy stamping.